Welcome to this guide to the best note run on ARK the island. First, you need to spawn at West Zone 2. This note run can take you from level 1 to 70 on 1x rates in just 20 minutes. Here, I got pretty unlucky and spawned on the opposite side of the island. If you're lucky, you can spawn right beside the first note. My coordinates will be in the top left corner for the whole video, so if you ever get lost, go to the coordinates of the last note. To begin, come to here on the map at coordinates 87.6, 23.2. You should be at the bottom of a large rocky cliff. This is what the area should look like. The first note is the Quetzal dossier between these rocks. I'm in single player, so every note is a 4x EXP note. If you're on a server, the only 4x EXP note will be the next one. Next, you want to run up the rocky cliff from the start and avoid any raptors or other dangers that can spawn here. Then, you need to follow the cliff around while constantly picking berries for the EXP and stim berries, which increase stamina when eaten, so they make the note run much faster and allow you to outrun predators even with no stamina. I would recommend putting the stim berries on your hotbar for easier use. Once you reach roughly this point, go into third person and look over the edge of the cliff for some ruins containing a 4x note. The ruins should look like this. The second note is number 13 at 89.2, 24.4. Then, you jump off the cliff into the water. I usually use the time while falling to level. You should level movement speed and stamina first, as they are beneficial during the note run, and you can level everything else later as they aren't important now. Next, you swim to the nearest beach to the left. Once you reach the beach, you run towards the center of the forest in front of you like I am now. Once you reach the forest, run straight through it, and you should see the note at the other side. This is what the ruins for this note look like. This note is Rockwell Record 20 at 84.5, 26.7. Then, you run towards this forest and follow the directions I go closely, as this is one of the most annoying notes to find on this run. If you go to the last one of these thick trees that stick out of the forest, you should see the ruins to the right. The ruins are small and can be hard to see through the trees. This is Rockwell Record 19 at 83.8, 27.8. After this note, you need to run to the top of the hill the note is on the side of. Be careful, as raptors can spawn around this area. You should see some ruins on the top of the hill. The next note is in these ruins. The next note is Rockwell Record 2 at 83.2, 24.8. Then, come to this pile of rubble and walk down the first part of the hill, as you will bounce down and take fall damage if you run. The next note is directly down the hill. I had to turn to go around a Therizino that spawned here. Here are the next ruins. This is the Lead Sichthies dossier at 83.1, 23.5. Next, run down to the river. Once you reach the river, follow it to the right. I stopped here to get my stamina back and level a bit more. Once you see this waterfall on the other side of the river, you need to cross the river. Be careful of piranhas in the river. Once you reach the other side of the river, run up the hill. You should see another waterfall. The next note should be on a ledge on the waterfall. Once you go around these rocks, you should see a way up to the ledge on the right. You should see the ruins as you run up the ledge. This is the Pachyrhinosaurus dossier at 77.6, 20.65. Then you keep running up the hill until you reach the lake. Once you reach the lake, jump over to the island in the middle of the lake. Next, jump to the second island behind the one you're on. The note is behind the big rock on the right of the island. This is the Megatherium dossier at 75:21.4. The next note is back near the bottom of the hill on the opposite side of the waterfall. The note is beside this rock to the left of the way down to the beach. This is the Kintrosaurus dossier at 78.323.5. Next, run down to the beach and follow the cliff to the left. The next note is behind this rock. This is the Liopleurodon dossier at 78.224.4. Then, continue to follow the beach to the left. I stopped for some water here. The next note is beside the next cliff face on the beach. It's just behind this rock on the beach. This is the Saber-tooth dossier at 77.126.1. The final note is at the end of this peninsula, just across the river. This is what the next note looks like. This is Helena Note 7 at 78.727.7. After this note, you should be level 60 if you're on 1x rates, but you will likely be on higher rates, so you should be a higher level. Usually, I would jump down this cliff next, but there was a Spino there this time, so I went a different way. Now, you need to gather the resources for a stone pick and hatchet. After this, you should craft as many cooking pots as possible as they are relatively cheap and give a lot of EXP. You will need to gather a lot of resources for this on 1x rates, as we still need 10 levels to reach level 70. If you find something small to kill, you can craft canoes with the hide, which give much more EXP than cooking pots. Canoes are much more expensive than cooking pots, but give much more EXP, so you can choose which to craft. I would recommend focusing on cooking pots and only crafting canoes if you find something small to kill. There isn't much more to say, just repeat this until you reach the level you want. I'll show a time lapse of me reaching level 70 now. Now that you're a higher level, you'll start with many more engrams and much higher stats, and now you can continue living around here or respawn somewhere else. The note run is also close to an obelisk, so you can easily transfer to another map after the note run. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please check out my other videos, and if you learned something, please consider liking or subscribing.